everybody, it's Rain, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how I am taking some of my second grade alpaca fiber that's been washed. This is not prime, this has some shorter bits, some longer bits, and I'm going to card them and make some Rolags with 2 dog slicker brushes. And we are going to make some Rolags, which I have in here, and then we're going to spin it. And I'm going for a thick and thin yarn. I've never tried this before. There's always a first for everything. So here we go. So I'm going to leave some links for washing this fiber and a little bit more info up here in the cards. You should be able to find them right up here in this corner. And I'm just going to lash these on. And if you follow my directions in the other video, they'll be washed and the staple links will all be lined up just like this, so you can lash them on quite easily. And you don't have to do it like this. You can just take a handful of fluff and lash them right on like that, and it'll make just as good of a Rolag than if you line the fibers up a little bit like I do. Either way is fine. Now I'm going to take my other brush and put the tip near the bottom and rock it backward like so, and that's going to push that fiber down into the bristles of my left hand brush here, so I can add a little bit more on. You want to make sure you add enough on so that your Rolag will be able to hold itself together when you pull it off. And you don't want to add too much, because if you had too much, some of it will end up not getting carded. So just practice and take your time. Rolags are pretty easy to master, I would say. So I'm gonna push that down once again. And now we're ready to start carding it. And I start at the tips, start pulling it off and carding it just like so. And you can do kind of a rocking motion with your cards, and that'll help you get the rest of the fiber off your left hand card. Now you can switch hands and just go ahead and start carding, but this is what I do. And to get any little pieces of VM you find, that'll help a lot. So the method I use to get a little bit of a more solid, more even Rolag: turn your bright brush over that you just carded onto and line the back up, and you want to kind of turn it like this. Line up the bristles, and you want to rock it back onto your other brush, and then use that first technique I showed you to push the fiber down into the bristles. And then start carding again. Alright. Now usually I will put the handle between my knees and hold it so I can pull it with both hands. Now this is the tricky part a little bit. You want to take it and pull it a little bit, but keep it together, and then roll it up, pull it a little bit, and you want to kind of let the fibers get pulled out onto the teeth a little bit to make them that little stretched classic Rolag look. And then once you get to the end, you want to just keep on rolling all the way around a few times. And usually I'll go across the edges since my dog brushes are so small, and I'll just do the same thing with the edges, even pull it out a little bit, and that'll help keep your Rolag together if you're using dog brushes. And once again, get out any VM you can. That'll help when you're spinning. And there is a nice little Rolag that we can use. So let's get to spinning. So I'm just going to take the edge of a Rolag and just pull it out. Just right out of the edge like so. And I'm going to put that through my leader string. This is just a piece of Red Heart acrylic yarn I'm using for my leader. And I've got my speed set to a little bit past 12 o'clock. This is the Ashford E-Spinner 3. I'm just letting a little bit of twist come back into that fiber and drafting it out as I go. Then I'll let it start pulling up, and I'm just going for it here. I'm just pulling out thick and thin bits at a time and not worrying about my consistency, or if there's a lump or a bump, I'm just leaving it in there. And I'm going for a thick and thin style art yarn. This was actually kind of my first time doing an art yarn, like actually intentionally making it thick and thin. You know, any other time it's just comes out that way, and it wasn't meant to be. It was kind of hard to stop worrying about the consistency and stop worrying about the lumps and bumps. It was a little hard for me to do that, where I'm used to spinning consistently every single time, but at the same time, it was also quite relaxing to not have to worry and keep stopping and like pulling out any little nips or anything I come across. It was kind of relaxing to just spin and just keep on spinning no matter what, and not worry about the thickness or if it's too thin and having to break it off and reattach it if it got too thin or something like that. So I definitely recommend anybody, in fact, I would recommend to do this as your first type of spin. This is probably what your first spin will look like regardless. It was mine, at least. But hey, make it into an art yarn and use it up for a nice hat, or for all of you weavers out there, use it in a nice weaving. I think my client that I'm spinning this for is using it in weaving. And I'll tell you a little fun fact about me. I am completely novice on weaving. I don't have any clue about looms or weaving or anything like that. I have no idea on anything about weaving. But I'm sure I'll learn one day. The most amount of weaving I have ever done, one of those little kits that you get from Walmart that has the little pot holders where you weave it in and out with the little pick. And I loved making those. And I've also made like a blanket that you weave the edges or something on. But other than that, I'm completely newbie at weaving. Don't ask me any questions about weaving. I have no idea. But a lot of spinners are weavers, because you can use up all of your beautiful yarns like this, and you don't have to worry about having leftover scraps or anything. So I've heard you can just throw it in a weaving project and go on about your day, and it makes some beautiful inlays. I've seen some of you weavers work out there, and it is definitely stunning. It's something I might learn one day. But for now, I'm just going to stick to spinning and crochet and knitting. Those are all my favorite. And of course, processing fiber and everything like that. And I have recently gotten into felting, which I'm loving. I've made some pumpkins, and I'm probably going to list those on my Etsy store. They're gorgeous, and they might be on Etsy. If not, I'm going to be keeping them for myself. So you'll just have to check. So I got me a little apron laid over my legs so that any little short bits that come out fall onto that and not onto my lap. And here is a nice upper view of the drafting triangle that I'm using. I mean, I'm pretty much just pulling it out and letting it take its own shape and letting it do its thing. And it was very relaxing. I had a little bit more VM that I would have wanted in this particular fiber, but other than that, it was a wonderful experience. So when it gets a little bit too thin, like it just did, I will untwist it and pull it apart, just like that. And I'm going to lay the fiber over top of the other side, and as you can see, I'm going to let it twist kind of from a sideways join. I feel in an art yarn you need that extra strength instead of just laying the two tails together. You can do that if you're going to make it thick enough, but I would recommend kind of letting it twist on from the side, especially if it's a really thin spot in the yarn. Now, like this join right here, both tails were nice and thick, So I just laid them together and let twist build up, and it worked out great in that fashion. But if it is thin, you have a thin tail, definitely let it come in from the side at kind of a about a 45-degree angle. And then I just keep drafting and keep going. And I know there is still probably some visible VM in this, but I'm going to get it out when I go to ply. I'll get the rest of it out. There was only just a few little pieces. I paused this video a lot of times and stopped and got a little extra VM out. So definitely carding, try to get a lot of your VM out before you card your fiber, because if you don't, it's going to keep the VM in there and get it deeper. I'm still kind of a newbie at carding. I enjoy combing the most because it really gets most of the VM out. You do have a little bit more waste with combing, but I really like either preparation. They're both great in their own ways. Whether you go the woolen spun like I'm doing in this video or worsted spun by combing. I'm probably going to do a video in the future when it comes to combing versus carding. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see that. And also, I'm happy to say I got some more raw fleeces, and I have the information on the lady I got it from. I was able to meet her. It worked out perfectly that she was coming my way and she was able to stop, and I actually got to meet her in person and get some raw fleeces. That was a wonderful experience, and I'm going to have a video on that very soon. And we're going to do a let's scour this fleece together on all of those fleeces. I ended up with 3 new raw fleeces, and I'm going to start listing some of my fiber that is hand combed and hand washed onto Etsy in the future, so keep an eye out for that. And thank you guys so much for your Etsy purchases. It helps me and my family out so much, and I'm going to have a restock very soon on some of the fall colorways. Here is how our art yarn is turning out. And this is just a plyback test. I absolutely love how it's looking. I can't wait to see what my client does with it, if she dyes it up or if she ends up having me dye it, however it goes. I'm most active on Instagram, so make sure you follow me on there if you would like to see the finished skein. And I will see y'all next week. Bye bye.